podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
This is the Ospreys Hour.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight on the Ospreys area, I'm joined once again, as always, by Nick, Grant, and Josh. How are we doing, guys?
Oh,
slowly getting over Saturday.
Yeah. I couldn't look at a single result on Sunday. I didn't want to see the other results from the back of our
It was certainly a painful affair, but I'm sure we'll despair for it. And let's go through some more positive things first, shall we? Let's start off with the news, the big news of the week, being unfortunately quite negative. But unfortunately, Rosair Nice has left the club due to a mutual understanding, led to be believed due to personal issues with his own life, which is disappointing, but it's not after you didn't play the first few games, you saw it coming.
Yeah, he's left a massive, he hasn't played the game for us and he's already left a massive hole, hasn't he? Because the other injuries we've got in the centre right now. So normally we go, okay, he's come and gone. But when you look at the fact that we've got a small number of centres left and we could have had him playing for us, then okay. But I'm looking at things slightly differently now.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on those who are fit, isn't there? Yeah. They're going to have to more or less play out every game now. There's a little bit of choice, but for whatever reason, Mark doesn't seem to have. That's confidence, wrong word. Doesn't feel Tom Florence is experienced enough yet to get much game time. Therefore, as I say, it's very much down to either moving Owen Williams to the centre and then shifting things around, or the three who play well. In fact, I suppose you just got to be pleased that Phil Cockersinger's fit again.
Yeah. It's almost like 10 should be fixed with Dan playing, 13 should be fixed with Boshoff playing. And so it feels right now it's a matter of, okay, who starts and who makes the bench, unless Tom Florence comes into the play.
I think we said, didn't we, on our WhatsApp group, if you'd have said Everardi Boshoff was going to be an absolutely key player for us for the run-in in September, I don't think any of us would have probably said, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But he is.
It's just a shame. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some form of emergency injury cover incoming for this weekend, but at this point it's hard to say. It's quite late in the season to try and find a 13 who's fit. Remember, there are some rumours going about, which we'll go through in a minute, but those are certainly more long-term, you'd imagine. In other news this week, on the more positive side, Wales, tight head, Ben Warren has re-signed a deal with the Ospreys, staying at St Helens next season. The tight head has been quietly impressive after a call up to the Wales squad over Six Nations, and has looked fairly consistent this year, continuing his development. Good signing, has to be said.
Yeah, we mentioned the reliance on Boshoff. I think the reliance on Beaufort and Warren now to the end of the season is also, it's pretty heavy reliance on those two. He seems to have developed really well under Duncan Jones, and then hopefully he's learned a lot from Adam Jones in Wales camp. But I think he's one of the best tight head prospects in Wales, and I definitely rate him above any of the young Scarlets tight heads. Having said that, so really exciting re-signing. He's still really so young for a prop. He's got a long way to go in his development.
I was going to say he's 24. He could have another 12, 13 years at the top level, and comfortably.
No, definitely.
It's a really nice piece of business to see that, once again, all the Wales internationals are staying on. There are some more rumours coming in this week, which are all quite interesting. I'll start with the big one. Reported by Rugby Pass yesterday, rumoured that Chris Harris is on the market and that we're one of the top teams in signing him. I think it'd be... I think I've got a different opinion, but I'm not that excited. He's what, 34 now? Maybe has a year, maybe two left in his legs. I know he broke through late, but it's still quite old for an outside centre. What do you boys think?
I'd agree with that. Yeah, if it's a temporary measure to take us through to the end of the season, right now it's almost like I'd bite your hand off for some of that sort of quality. But I haven't seen much of him play this season, and I'd like to think that he's still got it in him. But it's a bit of a punt, isn't it, when you get a 34-year-old centre? Mind you, Marnonu's just turned up again, hasn't he? So you never know.
I guess the positive for me is that we're looking at centre, which is we've all said before is a position we need to strengthen.
Yeah, agreed. I just think, it's always a risk, isn't it, when you're looking at someone of that age? But at the same time, you're looking 4 years ago, he's probably the best defensive 13 in the Northern Hemisphere, one of the best in the world. So what he could potentially teach a Tom Florence on the defensive side of the game is pretty invaluable, even if he wasn't necessarily got the match fitness he has had when he was a bit younger.
I wouldn't mind it on a short-term deal. Just a 1-2 year deal. See him through until he legs given. You don't want to be stuck like the Scarlets were a couple of seasons ago, where their best 13 was Jonathan Davis still, who couldn't run.
Yeah.
No, it's worked for us before, isn't it? You look at Steve Myler coming in at 10, and everyone's like, oh my God, we brought in someone on their last legs, and he did a cracking job for us in terms of just steadying the ship and delivering what we needed at the time anyway. So fingers crossed. It's a bit of a challenge to get him ahead of potentially Bath are interested, or he might be interested in Bath as well, but he could do a job for us right now, at least for the rest of the season as a minimum.
Well, we ideal for that.
That would be the only other worry. If Bath and Glasgow are in for him, is that going to inflate his wages even higher and mean that we're paying a price we probably shouldn't be paying for that sort of player? But I guess that's up to Ospreys recruitment department to work out.
I think it's worth letting the rumour mill get through it and see where he lands up. It'd be cool if he ends up the Ospreys, but I'm not particularly confident. It's nice that we're looking at a certain quality at least. I think the other big rumour is the Australian lock and Queensland Red captain Ryan Smith reported today. I can't remember what source off the top of my head, but he's proper workhouse line-out specialist, gets through a ton of work, has been, as far as I can tell, watching the brief amount of Super Rugby I have, it's been pretty good. And it'd be strengthening another less suspect position, but somewhere we need some leadership in, probably in the locks, which is only a good thing if Adam is going to leave.
The interview Mark Jones did was interesting, wasn't it, before the game, where I think it's really up to Adam now. Well, I assume he's had offers from elsewhere, and they're expecting, and quite rightly, a decision from him. He's got to weigh up, obviously, financial considerations. Obviously, he's got young children as well, and schooling and all that sort of. Those sort of things come into the decision-making process, but we need to know one way or the other now what Adam's going to do, and he would be a very good, asset to us. I think he's just 28, going on 29, would bring a hell of a lot of experience. I'd say it's just wants a decision now, and hopefully we can push ahead, whichever way that goes.
I think obviously the dream is keeping Adam Beard, but at the same time, now that the WRU aren't going to pay for our Welsh players and they're going to be away for a third of the season, is someone who's maybe a little bit cheaper and is going to be around all season. And as you say, it brings massive leadership skills during the international periods. Yeah, is it potentially a good Moneyball signing? Yeah, I think it will be. But yeah, obviously, ideally, we want to still keep Adam Beard if we can.
I think it does raise one question, at least, about what's happening with Will Spencer over the summer. Because from what we've heard, I think we did Ospreys Supporters Club didn't interview them down in the Riverside not a few weeks ago at the Connacht game.
He did,
and he said he didn't have a contract going into next season. at least, which is slightly concerning because he's been quite good while he's been in here.
He's got better, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Every game he's played, he seems to have got better.
Yeah.
I know, speaking on the wrap to Jamie at the Dragons and Ali at the Cardiff, they would certainly be very interested if he became available for their clubs.
I do wonder if that's also linked to the Adam Beard and whether they want an answer, and then they'll make the decisions on who else they need to recruit in the second row after that.
Definitely, Josh. Yeah.
I know personally from speaking to my inside source that he'd quite like to stay at the Ospreys. Loves the club in the 3 months he's been there.
Well, that's good.
Which is nice to hear. But let's hope the club loves him as much. I think it's time then. Shall we discuss this weekend's affairs?
No.
Yeah, can I just say that, well, we had a lucky number last week. I've decided 17-0 is most definitely not a lucky number.
Oh.
Yeah, I think we go into the first 20 minutes in loads of detail. Maybe and leave it there.
Shall we go through that first minute? Which, like, that first minute was bliss. Kick off.
It was like a microcosm of the game, wasn't it? It was like a catalogue of errors.
Yeah.
Mainly from them, but then we overthrew the bloody line out, and then we scored.
I think I watched that. I didn't manage to watch the whole game live, annoyingly. And I watched the first 20 minutes and I thought, yeah, this could not. Scarlets are a deeply unserious team. No way, we just put them to bed now. And God, does I hate myself 20 minutes later.
I was listening to a Sam Parry talk after the game, and Mark Jones went into the game with a tactic, basically first 20 minutes, don't give Scarlets anything to hit, because he knew they were going to be so up for the game, so motivated, and basically slow the game down, box kick, defend, just don't give anything to them, which I think we executed that perfectly. I don't know what he said for the next 60, but that didn't
It's
The second try was a really good try. It was really well worked, and fair play to Yeston Hopkins, lovely little kick through, and I had the luck the bounce, but you've got to put yourself in those positions. And I love as well is he's got I think somebody referred to his nickname, Cochin, which means red sort of hair, red person, red hair, which is very sensible nickname. But that was a really well worked try, whereas the first one was just a catalogue of errors.
Oh, and the second one wasn't in terms of that defensive faux pas, but
yeah. True.
Poor man, he's miles away from the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but yeah.
Yeah, but you look at the way we went forward though, and it was like rewinding to the start of the season. I think it's like the centre combinations, that those changes really seem to hit us. Like, we made distance there because we got wide, and then we kicked, and that's what really gave us the progress. The rest of the time we were shifting the ball wide, and it looked so much less intense than the last sort of month or so. I think that's just combinations of players, I think, and rustiness.
I'm not just being wide after the event. I did have a few concerns when I saw the team on Friday, and I can understand Mark Jones's reasoning for that, and hopefully time will tell it was the right decision. But we've talked about having one small winger, one big winger, and obviously Cassende most definitely needed a break. And I don't think he's injured, so hopefully he'll be back when we come to talk about Sunday. But I did think maybe if you wanted to give Nagy some game time, he could have possibly started on the wing, because he, I know might not have top end speed, but he did start as a winger for us, and he's a big physical guy.
To be fair, I think Nagy can play 13 as well.
Yeah,
which might be used slightly more often if Boshoff picks something up.
Maybe
needs a break come the end of the season.
Yeah, as I say, it's easy to be wise after the event, isn't it? But I hope it doesn't come back to bite us.
I was slightly torn when I saw the team, because for me, everyone was talking like all these players needed a rest. They've just come off the international break. they had 3 weeks rest leading into the Connacht game while the internationals were playing. And then they've got a 3-week block of games, fair enough. But then you can maybe rest players for the Dragons. I'm not belittling the Dragons, but Dragons at home is probably a game to rotate. I just felt like with the top 8 being so tight, do you just go, look, boys, it's a 3-game block, put it all into the 3-game block, and then we'll see what we've got numbers-wise at the end of that and see if we can rotate for the Dragons or even Cardiff. And yeah, I felt like, when Wales have that weaker game in the autumn and they change the whole team, and then none of the players look that good because they're all playing as individuals and there's no team cohesion. It felt like there were that many changes, full back 3 change at 12, that it did feel clunky. It did feel a lot more clunky in attack. And obviously I don't know the fitness of Cassandre and Kieran Williams, Jack Welsh, Keelan Giles. But if any of them were fit, I'd have potentially asked them to go again. And also, I think there's an element where when you're playing, you're better off just playing week in, week out. Whereas if you have a week off, sometimes you find you come back and then you pick up a niggle because you've had a couple of weeks off and your body's not used to the hit. Sometimes it's better just rolling week on week. But that's just my take on it.
No, I totally agree. I think the attack looked like it hadn't really trained together that much collectively as a unit, at least the back 6. I think we're all good players, but when you're swapping in so many, basically 11 onwards was completely different other than Boshoff.
Yeah.
You're going to lose cohesion naturally. It's about managing the squad around that cohesion. I think we didn't have the 2 best players we've had since Mark Jones took over start of December. For me, have been Jack Walsh and Cassandre collectively. And I think not having either of them not necessarily doesn't give the X factor, but it just means we don't have that same level of cohesion. Cassandre's probably been the best ball chasing winger in the URC this season.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the amount of high balls he's managed to win outright now, he helps us exit. And Jack Welsh, he's red hot. And if you're missing both of them and your game plan is to try and contain the Scarlets, at least it doesn't really work as well. Luke Morgan has been a great servant to the club, but I've never been his biggest fan.
Yeah.
And I just don't think he quite has the same aerial prowess that you'd want from a Monday winger.
I do wonder if Mark Jones's tactics might work better against the Irish teams because you're likely to rack up more points. I don't know if they maybe might end up hindering us against the Welsh sides, because if under Booth, it always felt like against the Welsh teams, we'd just try and beat them up front because we knew we had a stronger pack. We'd keep it tight. It wouldn't be the most exciting rugby, but at the end of the day, we'd maul them over or we'd, knock them back in the scrum. Whereas I felt like a little bit the style of play we're trying to play is trying to play like Scarlets, but not as well as Scarlets. Trying to play open expansive rugby.
I think we're trying to overplay a little bit and just force it when realistically, I think every team in Wales has an outstanding 7 who's over the ball like that, unfortunately. Whether it's McLeod or you're going to come against Thomas Young against Cardiff, he will just get turnovers for days. If we keep playing wide to wide, I think it'll show how good Mark Jones is a coach if he can adapt to this result and see how he adapts for next week and the derby's coming up.
Definitely time to shore up the defence now, isn't it? After the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, we're sort of leaking 4 tries a game, aren't we? Plus, we've got, and I think it's definitely time to do that. And I suppose maybe as a journey for us as a team, because obviously as the best teams in the world can play both kind of games, can't they? They can go wide, and if need be, they can tighten it up. So it's trying to get that balance. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of pressure on the coaches now, going into next week and trying to adapt from a defeat.
Yeah. Mind you, I think there's other issues in the performance other than just the game plan. I think we certainly lost our heads come towards the end of that second half. Yeah. After the 2 yellow cards, which you have dodgy decisions or not, you have to take it and move on to the team. I don't think we quite adapted to it. It looked like we just got sort of rattled. How many points did we concede? Down to 13, 21, something like that?
Yeah, 3 tries. Yeah.
3, yeah. One of them converted or 2 of them converted.
Yeah.
No, that 10 minutes has made the difference. It's made the difference in terms of the scoreline, but in terms of how we played afterwards, we didn't grab the game by the scruff of the neck again, did we?
No. Well, you've got okay. We I don't think we want to get into a long discourse about the quality of officiating. It wasn't just the ref either. It was like the farce where a yellow card was given and nobody went off, and when it was, it probably wasn't, shouldn't have been. It was to the wrong person. But you have to adapt, and I think as a team, again, as learning, you've got to adapt to referees. However much you might disagree with decisions, you have to manage the officials as well, and we didn't do that on Saturday.
I think there's one criticism of Jack Morgan in the Six Nations was his chat or lack of it towards the referees of Wales, and you've got to wonder if that's going to play up again for the Ospreys. I appreciate Griffin Colby is a one-off, and he's faced criticism from lots of teams in this league. But at the same time, Josh McLeod seemed to get more of what the Scarlets wanted out of him than we did. And you got to wonder if that's due to Jack being the best person to talk to refs as a captain. I don't doubt that he's the best player in the squad to be a squad captain and to lead the players is inspirational in that merit. But is he the best at talking to refs? It's hard to say.
Well, he's talking to refs and there's talking to individual refs who perform in a slightly different manner to other refs as well, isn't it? And as I said in our chat, if I haven't got anything good to say nothing. So I'll say no more about that subject.
No, you're right. There were a couple of positives. It was nice, and the game, perhaps the way coming on made a big difference. His carrying, and it was so nice to see Rhys Davis as well coming on. And I thought he did a really solid job carrying and gave us some bit of go forward. We had a period in the game when we had those scrums, and one went against us. He gave well, even though we looked to be getting on top. A penalty against us when we were on a 5-yard scrum where we decided to go again from this 5-yard scrum. But I think, those are things we can hold on to and build on for the future. But we must look after the ball better for us moving forward.
I think that's just partly rustiness at the end of the day. Owen Williams, his last game was it was Benderson at home. At 10, and even then at 10 you're expected to clear out a lot less than you're at 12. I think it's his second game at 12 in like 2 years or something. To be fair, I imagine it's just a bit of rustiness across the whole back line. It just perps the inaccuracy in clearing out, which I imagine will come back next week, if nothing else.
Yeah.
If we don't have a game plan for McLeod, we're in big trouble because I thought he was outstanding, both in terms of the breakdown and also with just talking to the referee. And I think it's even more of a compliment to Jack Morgan that it's very rare that we're having a conversation that we think there was a 7 on the other team who outperformed him. But I thought McLeod was pretty close to unplayable at times on the weekend. He just destroyed any decent ball we had at the breakdown. And yeah, as I say, just communicated really well with the referee and seemed to really have him on side. So yeah, you've got to give, as much as it pains me to say, you do have to give Scarlets credit because they also managed the period we were down to 13 and capitalised really well, scoring 19 points. That's impressive. They really got their attacking game going. So yeah, you've got to give a little bit of a hat tip to the Scarlets for that.
Yeah, I thought Gareth Davis managed the last 10 minutes well, kicking in, just kicking us back. When, Dan scored a fantastic try, individual try, where we might have, been looking for a bonus point. We just didn't get the chance. We were stuck in our own 22, weren't we? And, fair play to, Gareth Davis and his experience.
He's outstanding. He was outstanding, wasn't he? Especially now he's retired from Wales, he's a great asset for them to have someone like that week in, week out. They're also very reliant on him.
Oh, terribly.
He plays 70, 80 minutes every single week. And we're obviously struggling at the moment because I'm not sure. Rumour Williams might be out for the season. I don't know how Kieran Hardy went off injured at the weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And Lukey Dye obviously looked a little bit rusty when he came on, but that's to be expected. He hasn't played in months. So, that's, no slight on him whatsoever. But yeah, I don't know who we're going to play at 9 at the weekend, but they're going to have to really step up because you say Gareth Davis controlled the game really well.
It's going to be an interesting selection either way. Is it? I don't really want to talk about this game anymore.
Yeah.
I'd love to go and shit talk some Scarlets fans, but I just don't have the energy in me anymore. I'll go out and call Edward Jenkins out on Twitter once and get annoyed. That's fine. Let's move on to some other games this weekend then. Let's have a look at some results for our community. Nick.
Yeah, bear with me. Sorry, can you just give me a second? Do you want to just talk about the results looking forward, if that's okay? Give me a second. I'm sorry. I did that in.
Yeah, so I think we got Scarlets next, followed by, is it Dragons, then Blues, and then was it the other way around?
The other way around, yeah.
Blues and Dragons, yeah.
Blues and Dragons, and then we've got the two South African teams away. So I think we're still in a position where we can make the playoffs, especially with it being so tight.
I think if we can beat the Lions away, I think that's a pivotal one. I think Blues and Dragons at home, we should take. Blues, I've not seen us lose for Blues in years. At the end of the day, and they're having a good season, but we should just be able to muller them up front. At the end of the day, even at a packed out cap down to 14 men, we still managed to hold on pretty comfortably. It never felt we were going to lose back in January. It's now seeing if we can win at the Principality.
Well, I think we said we've got to win at least 3 games, and that hasn't changed.
I think the important thing is, how many extra points can you pick up along the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we've left this weekend to go with nothing.
Yeah.
Really disappointed, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way we've been going, if you include the Leinster loss, we still picked up, was it 16 points from 4 games?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, on to the regional results. Started with League One West. Wynalwydd 17, Penclow 15. That's a very good game. Hendy 19. The Pontedelice won away there 21. League One West Central. Aberafon Green Stars 38. Bilthwells 17. Bridgend Athletic 33. Birchgrove 7. Morriston 23. Astrachan Lice 24. Heck of a game. Vaslon 33. Vardra 0 for Vardra. Swansea Uplands again 28. Skewin 21. West Central, Abercrave 30, Resolving 0. Brynamon 66, Pencoed 21. Brinkethin 32, Porthcawl 18. Hoyle Crew 38, Abraham Quins 10. West Central 3, Bridgend Sports 12, Tonner 43. Nantamoyle 17, Cem Cribwood 5. West Central 4, Britain Ferry 19. Pontrhy Devon 8, Pontardawe 19, Crenant 21, Gleice 10, Seven Sisters 57, big win for them. Cumtor 89, Glencorrwg 5, Taibach 34, Pyle 7, Penlan 26, Banwen 7, West Championship West, Dunlop 31, Tartar Steel 38. You follow Tartar Steel, Grant?
No, I don't. No, I might work yours. Yeah, but I'd be, if I'm looking down the leagues, I'd be looking at Skewin and Brinco results.
Good win for them. They played Gossinon 69, My State Quins 15, Kevinick Hill 44, Ostravera 26, Tondy 7, Glenneath 22, and then in the Premiership, Bonamine 19, Cardiff Met 22. Neath 43, Llangennech 34, and just in the Super Cymru League Trophy, Aberafon 22, Cardiff 44, Ebervale 48, Bridgend Ravens 17, and the mighty Whites haven't won many games, turned over the cup winners, and I think we're league leaders going into the game at St Helens 42-24. So I think there's a few lads from the Ospreys playing, particularly I think Liam Edwards. Just like to shout out, he's I don't know if he used to play for the 20s. I think he got injured and has almost been out for 2 years. And he had his comeback game. So I hope it went well for him. And I'm sure he enjoyed celebrating a really good win for Swansea over Llandovery.
Good set of results there. Good win for Swansea, especially. Being Llandovery is, at least we won one half of the derby, where we tend our seas out and beat Scarlets B team. Feels great. One last thing to do with the community, please check out the Supporters Club. They posted their Place of the Month last month, and it's certainly worth going and voting. I know I've voted. I know Nick's voted. I think you should too.
It's a really good shortlist, this one. If you look at the way we've been playing rugby, okay, it's not a surprise that we've got, a full back three, a regular back three there, Cassende, Walsh, and Keelan, and Kieran Hardy's also made the shortlist based on his recent form. So a real strong lineup for this month's Oscar vote.
Grant, you're going to tell us who you voted for, or do you have to remain neutral?
I don't have to tell you who I voted for, and I was just thinking, do I remember who I voted for? Yeah. I put the web post last night. I'm pretty sure I voted instantly. I voted for Jack Walsh.
Good shout. Yeah.
I voted for somebody else. But I wouldn't. As you say, any one of those four would be very deserving.
Yeah. Normally we have a bit of a debate in terms of where we cut off the tail in terms of how many people to be put forward, but those four, when we're talking about as a supporters club committee, they had the majority of the vote by miles, just between the four of them.
Yeah.
They have been, to use the official phrase, fucking awesome this season, especially in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
One last thing for everyone else to participate in, feel free to like and subscribe to the pod. If you did, it means a lot to us as individuals. It means a great lot to the rap as well. If you're watching on YouTube, it means a lot to us, the community. It means we can keep growing and keep delivering you content like this, which I think we all quite like doing. Hope you like listening to it. Time to move on to the last bit. Let's look at the return leg of this doubleheader. Are we particularly confident now? I know my hopes have been rocked a little bit, but I'm still. We should take them at home, surely.
Well, I've got to stick what I said last week. I said whoever would win on Saturday would lose the following week. So, yeah, I'm pretty confident. I think we'll get a far more of what we might consider our first 15 out. Certainly, if it was me selecting the team, I'd start with what I consider to be our best front row. Not that and have a very strong front row on the bench. But any one of the six who I think who I consider to be my best choices available. Interesting to see who goes in the second row. I don't know availability around James Fender after his HIA, whether he's going to be back. But as I say, with Rhys Davis, James Ratty, and Adam Beard, I would think probably Adam Beard would be one of the starters, unless they think he's had 2 games now. He might need a little bit of a break. But this isn't the game to have a break, is it? As we alluded to, we've got. This is a big chance for us, because if we win this game, we would have a quarter final at home as well. So, and financially, that's got to be important for the club. So we have to pick our best team available. And yeah, I think if we do improve our defence, look at their strengths and try and reduce their strengths, I think we'll come on top.
I think it's a lot more malign than game just gone. I don't think Scarlets they'll be looking at this game tantalisingly, seeing if they can keep going deeper, if they want to get Champions Cup rugby next year. Sort of their only hope, realistically, is to go through the Challenge Cup. So I imagine they may not be targeting. They're probably targeting this game as much as we are, if not slightly more, as it's really the only thing keeping their season alive. I don't know. I don't think they're getting top 8 anymore, especially when they go away to. I think they're playing Bulls and Stormers away, which is rough. So I can imagine them trying to force their way and go for a little cup run. But I still feel confident enough. I think we need to sort of revert to type a little bit. Certainly after the last 3 weeks, just pick the biggest, gnarliest pack we can.
We've got to go fully loaded, and we've got to go fully loaded. Yeah. And again, comment from last week, we need to sort of defence out. Yeah. But if we're fully loaded, I'm a lot more confident.
Yeah. I think it will help having a more cohesive team that have played together a lot more. I think if Keith comes back in at 12, that's already looking more of a solid sense partnership. Him and Boshoff have played together for quite a few weeks now. Yeah. And then Kasande is very underrated on the wing defensively. I think he makes really good defensive reads, really, really strong tackler, strong in the air, similar with Giles. So I think we will see a lot stronger defensive performances this weekend, I'm hoping.
Yeah, and for all the plaudits that Max Page is getting, I think he is a bit of liability defensively and in the air. So I think we can go after him. And Blair Murray, again, if you give him space, that's not a great idea. But he's not the biggest guy to play full back. So Kasende chasing up some of those kicks against Blair Murray. Yeah, I know who I've got my money on.
We saw this week that even then, if you can get past that first line of Scarlet's defense, they don't have that much cover, especially with the Dan Edwards score where he just brushes off Gareth Davis and runs past Glenn Murray. It's a bit soft, and they've conceded quite a few soft tries this season. It feels like if we can just stop their attack going, we should be able to just grind them out pretty comfortably. At this point,
I also want to see Keith come straight down Eddie James's channel, because I think I like Owen Williams. I like a ball playing 12, but I don't necessarily think he was that tested. I think that's the sort of 12 he'd probably want to play against. Whereas I think Keith is going to run direct, going to be direct, going to go straight over the top of him. I don't
think he's going to go over the top. I might just go under him.
If he gets past him, I'm happy. That'll do.
It'll help if we keep 15 on the pitch for the whole game, though.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
I think we just need to improve our discipline in Meadow. Play to what the ref wants, not what we want.
Yeah.
I imagine we'll want it to be pretty fully loaded, expect it to be a pretty fully loaded side. So let's not bother predicting the team sheet because we're going to send out our seconds at this point. Let's go on and let's have a few score predictions and something funny that might happen during the game. Let's start with you this week, Grant.
Ospreys by 10, and I fully expect 2 Scarlets take there to be yellow card if dropping scrums.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Josh?
Oh, I hate saying this. I think Scarlets. I think Scarlet's going to do the double.
No,
I know. I just feel. Yeah, I hope not. But yeah, Scarlet's going to do the double. But I think Scarlet's by 4, and Steve's to come off the bench and get into a scrap, and he's going to be fighting off 3 Scarlets at the same time. Yeah, that's my predictions.
I'll go Ospreys by 5. Gareth Davis to pull up injured, not serious because I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So they actually have to substitute a scrum half before the end of the game.
I'm going down a similar route in my funny thing happening. But I think Ospreys by 8. I feel like we get a last minute penalty just to push the gap or something. But the funny thing happening is Johan Lloyd getting a knock, not a big one, just dead leg or whatnot, getting smashed. And then Scarlets fumbling about because they did a 6-2 and didn't name Charlie Dickham on the bench. And playing about a 10 for the rest of the game, which I think would be hilarious.
Oh, don't say that, because you know potentially what could happen when someone steps into that chat note. You never know.
You never know. But no, I think playing at home is got to be worth a few points as well.
Yeah.
Let's hope for a good atmosphere at the Swansea.com this weekend. I know I'm going to be there. Any of you boys going down?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'm busy this weekend, unfortunately, but I'll be cheering on the boys from my sofa.
Well done, Josh.
Hope to see everyone else there. Let's get a big crowd out for arguably probably our biggest game of the season so far. It'd be nice to see a good atmosphere at Swansea.com on what is supposed to be a lovely day, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think, though, that is it for this week, unless I've missed a surprise announcement on twitters.com. I'll be thoroughly disappointed if we announce someone signing at 6 p.m. tonight. But I think that's it for this week. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. We will chat to you guys soon. Bye.
Take care.
That was the Ospreys Alley. Please rate, review and share on socials if you can, and join us next week for more of the same. And until then, enjoy your rugby.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.